Bet you to it.
Oh, attaboy. We are back, or we're not back. We're here for episode 1 of season 3 of the Virtus Performance Podcast. Welcome, Tyler.
But we're also back.
We're back because we were here last week for an intro episode, I guess. Intro music, hit it.
It's clean. It's cold. Now that's what I call high quality H2O.
It's just your weekly reminder to stay hydrated, drink some water. It's a really fancy bottle you got there. I like it.
Sorry, that head is doing a lot.
I can turn it down. Way to start strong with heated talk. So, plan for today's episode is, because we haven't done the podcast in a little while, we put it out to the Virtus family during the week, what questions they had for us, what things they wanted to talk about, and we have a motley crew of questions. There is a plethora of questions, and
Good use of plethora.
thanks. We need a good use button. What do you reckon? We'll get there.
Later job.
Anyway, and they're all over the shop, to be honest. Some of them are training related, some of them are life related, some of them are
outrageous.
So basically, plan for today is we're going to go. We've randomised. We put them into the Virtus Performance randomizer earlier on. So we're going to go from top to bottom. We'll ask the question. We'll both give our answers, and then some of them will move on real quick. Others will take a little bit of a deeper dive.
Some will take 10 seconds, and some are an episode on their own, really, but we'll cover them as best as we can here.
Yeah, I guess it's a good opportunity for us to see what you guys are interested in, see what you want to hear about, see what you want us to talk about.
We'll give you little tastes, and if there's a question you really like, we might dive into it on an episode on its own.
For sure. And if there's anyone in particular that we think is better placed to talk about this stuff, we'll get them on as well, which I think will help. So, first question, nice easy one to start off with. What's the best piece of advice you've been given or have received or have given to someone else?
Not necessarily given. I don't really remember anyone ever giving me this advice, but just really cliche, but just be the change you wish to see in the world. So, like, whatever you believe in, or he actually gave me that advice himself.
What a man. Shout out.
Whatever you believe in, whatever you want to change about the world, don't complain about it. Just embody and set the example for everyone else to follow.
Brilliant. I think mine's something pretty similar. It's cultivate self-awareness. And I guess the follow-up to that is understand what you value, understand what's important to you, and live your life leaning on those values. So every decision you make should be values-based decisions. I talk about this a little bit, but if we make every decision and all of our actions are centered around what we value and what we find most important, then we're living a life that's true to ourselves. Yeah. And then, we're making our world a better place. And if everyone does that, the world becomes a better place. What a start.
Thanks.
It's a couple of nice, easy, self-awareness questions in here. So second one, how to create self-discipline.
I think you best kick us off with that one because I'm still working that out myself.
I think everyone's still working out.
Yeah.
I think
it's not really something you master.
This is something we started the podcast with last week, is don't let perfect get in the way of good. I think self-discipline is one of those things that you build momentum, and when things are going really well, it's easier to stack habits and to add good quality things into your life. But when things aren't, it's really difficult. So start small. Start with a little thing, a simple, easy task that you can do, something that takes less than 2 minutes, and do that. And just set a time to do that. And then build that consistency into your life so that, when you do X, you do Y. So when you drink water, you might, do some journaling. Or when you meditate, you might do X, Y, or Z. But what we want to do from a discipline perspective is figure out really clearly what your goal is, because we understand motivation comes in a couple of different forms, extrinsic and intrinsic. For those that don't know, an extrinsic motivator is something external that drives us. So, for example, on the podcast, it would be the numbers. It would be how many people are downloading, how many people are listening. An intrinsic motivator would just be my desire to have good quality conversations and to add value to our community. Those two things are, chalk and cheese in terms of where they come from. And if I focus on the numbers and the numbers aren't building and growing the way I'd want, I'm probably not going to want to do the podcast. But if I focus on good quality conversation and adding value, and I can actively enjoy doing this, like you told me afterwards last week you had a good time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun being able to talk through this stuff. So So get really clear on where you're going, get clear on what your internal and intrinsic and extrinsic motivators are. We've all got different ones as well, and we're all going to have a pile of each. So don't feel as though, well, I'm an extrinsically motivated person. You're going to have a bit of both. But if we can identify what our motivators are, and then we can effectively just game the system and lean into them and figure out, like, the question I asked myself when we were planning season 3 of the podcast: who do I want to talk to? Who do I want to have conversations with? Like the outcome-based stuff, is almost it's a byproduct.
Yeah, it looks after itself. Yeah, it wasn't necessarily like who's going to draw us the most views and the most clicks, the most listens, downloads. It was just who do we want to talk to? Who's really interesting?
Yeah, exactly. And a follow-up to the self-discipline question would be: put yourself in an environment where the people who you're surrounded with are doing the things that you want to do. They've already ticked that off, because that will help you draw them to their level. Draw you to their level, sorry. And I guess, we've all heard the saying, average of 5 people you spend the most time with. I think that's, bang on.
I love the old, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
I'm in the wrong room.
Please.
Ha, good. All right, next one. This is a minefield. Dating in 2022. Discuss.
Save your time and money. Invest in yourself.
That's actually brilliant.
End the podcast.
That's brilliant. That is a phenomenal answer. I have nothing to add to that. I have lots of opinions on dating in 2022. So for those that don't know, been in a relationship for 13 years, couple of kids, dog, cat. My wife is the light of my life.
Great American dream.
The great American dream. So I have absolutely no skin in the game from a dating perspective, but it's fun to watch, and it's fun to watch friends and family. And I feel for you. I feel for everyone dating in 2022. It's a minefield out there. It seems like chaos, but you're right.
Your self-worth and happiness isn't going to be attained from another person.
Yeah, it's definitely not.
Invest in yourself, and then when you're ready.
Perfect. That is phenomenal advice. Good from you. Keep doing good things. Do things you love. And eventually someone will fall out of the sky and present themselves to you in one way or another. Very good. All right, who inspires you?
Anybody that's doing better than me. Literally, like Locke said, you're the average of the 5 people you're around. So, like, anyone that's doing what I want to do better than I am, I want to, surround myself with them and learn off them and leech off them. I nearly said a different word instead of leech. That's why I sort of chuckled to myself.
You can say whatever you want. It's our podcast, mate. You can say whatever you want. People might stop listening, but that's not why we're here anyway. So, who inspires me? I think anyone doing good things. And, it's a very similar answer, but they don't necessarily have to be ahead of me in terms of, like, social status or life or anything like that. Like, just seeing people who are moving from where they are to where they want to be, that inspires me. Seeing people who, don't love coming to the gym, build a habit around enjoying the people and enjoying the movement, enjoying the progress. Seeing Lucy and Billy, like, fall over and get up and repeat and learn things and grow and adapt. And I think that capacity that, the girls are teaching me and kids can teach us around, you're going to fail, you're going to fuck up. As long as we keep moving forward, we're going to be okay. Anyone doing that, I'm all about it.
Yeah, that's probably another one for me too. Anyone that's just facing great hardship and just keeps getting up.
Yeah, life's pretty tough, especially the last couple of years. So I think anyone's capacity to be able to make progress when things are shit and to not worry about all of the crap that's going on is brilliant. All right, next one. What gets you up? Get you up and about. I'm not sure if this is a what gets you up in the morning question or a what gets you up, but Bailey Schmidt, shout out.
Thanks, Schmitty.
Schmitty's
got a few there.
He's a good man. What do you reckon?
Just self-betterment, wanting to improve, wanting to be better than I was yesterday so then I can better serve others and help them get better than they were yesterday.
Good answer.
So you've got to fill your cup up before you can fill others' cups up.
Unless you've got kids, then you fill their cup up and you hope that there's some left for you. What gets me up? I think the improvement and the growth is a big part of it. Like I've said for a few years that one of my greatest fears is that I am the same person I was a year ago. figuring out, and I guess there's many different aspects of who we are as people. Like there's the friend, there's the partner, there's for me, parent, there's the teammate if we play sport, there's the colleague, and then there's you, and then there's 15 different elements of you, right? Like there's my health and fitness, there's my education, there's my learning, there's my capacities in every different way. So I think what gets me up is moving the needle in one of those capacities. And at the moment, it's probably centered around the girls and seeing them improve and making sure that they're happy and safe and healthy and they're making progress. It certainly changes. Well, there was a big shift for me when we became parents around what gets me up in the morning. Like
Lucy crying gets you up in the morning.
A lot, way too often. But this place is centered around improvement and growth, and it wouldn't exist if we didn't value it. So I reckon that's it for me.
Yeah.
Speaking of this place, what's your favourite part of Virtus?
Just the people. Like I've moved to a foreign town where I didn't know a single person, and like I feel like I've got another family here. Like I can.
It's lovely.
Walk through the doors and have a chat with 15 different people, and
would you say you fit in like a glove? Sorry.
I was wondering when we were going to get to use that one.
For me it's exactly the same. It's the people. Like every gym has dumbbells and kettlebells and racks and turf and even as we add a higher quality recovery kit and more tech and all that kind of stuff, none of it really matters in a nutshell. Like the values of this place is community. So the people who make this place up is what makes it special. The fact that we can have, over the off season, we can have mums and young athletes all training with AFL guys and doing that, like that's Virtus. If we were to package Virtus up as to what it is as a picture or as a feeling, that's what it is. It's people being able to rock up here, show up, improve their performance. That's a big part of what we do, and improve what they know. So improve to educate them. If we can tick off community performance education, I'm winning. That's
awesome. And look, your vibe attracts your tribe. Really, we just keep attracting.
You just made that up.
Really, really good people.
That's pretty impressive. If you just made that up, that's really impressive.
No. Classic. We just
put that
keep attracting really good people through the doors. Every time we have a new person for an onboard, like we always chat after, like they're a perfect fit. Like 95% of people that we attract through the doors are a perfect fit.
Good things with the good people. It's more than just words on the wall. It's more than just words on a t-shirt. You're going to start reading out the odd numbers, and I'm going to read out the even numbers. I did something because I am getting sick of talking.
Thoughts on pre-workout? I'll start with that.
Take it away.
If you're well-fueled, well-rested, you're recovering, probably not necessary, but also, I guess, not unnecessary. Probably your best pre-workout's just going to be caffeine, because a lot of pre-workouts, that's the crux of what it is. Anyway, it's just caffeine, minus all the other chemical junk that's in it. If you're well-rested, well-fueled, unnecessary, but also if you like that little bit of an extra boost, then sure, go for it. I'd probably opt for caffeine, a long black, caffeine tablet, no dose.
Yeah,
but
perfect.
Probably no need for the extra junk that's in other pre-workouts, but I don't know, if it gets you feeling better and lets you train without the negative side effects, then sure.
Yeah, and I think that negative side effects is an incredibly important part of it. So for those playing at home, if you don't understand the difference between sympathetic and parasympathetic response, is sympathetic is when we're having our pre-workout, when we're training, when we're under stress. And parasympathetic is when we're in kind of rest and digest, where we're relaxed, we're breathing, where our body's in recovery mode effectively, rest and recovery mode. If our pre-workout, and for a lot of people that take it, they take it because they're tired and fatigued. Yeah. If that pre-workout is inhibiting your capacity to shift back to a parasympathetic state post-session, then stop taking it. Like Tyler said, get the big rocks right first. Get your sleep nailed, get your nutrition nailed, get your hydration nailed, get all of the things that actually allow you to train. By all means, if you've had a big day at work or the kids have kept you up or whatever, and that no-dose or the black coffee or the shine drink, whatever it is, helps get you through the session, brilliant. But we need to make sure that we're doing something on the back end to allow us to switch off and allow us to recover.
You got to look at why you're low on energy too. You're not coming into the gym low on energy because you haven't had a pre-workout. There's a reason you're low on energy, so you got to strip back and look at all the different areas of your life, such as nutrition, your sleep, stress from relationships, work, etc., and look at why you're so depleted on energy and why you need to rely on pre-workout.
We know that caffeine is one of, if not the most tested and studied supplements in the world, and it works.
Yeah.
Full stop. It works for performance. I'm not a great case study at the moment because I'm not sleeping all that well, but the double spro before footy gets me up and about and does brilliant things for me.
And it's also a matter of personal preference too, because for me, I don't like too much caffeine before training or working out. It makes me jittery. It's how I dislocated my shoulder, I'd argue. I came into the gym.
You got pretzel shoulders.
That too, but came into the gym just pumped up full of caffeine, just too edgy, too jittery, and fucked my shoulder. And like before footy, I just don't like it too.
Yeah, so do what helps you perform better, but know that you've got to recover on the back end. Oh, carbs equal the enemy.
You do that one. I can't be bothered.
Oh, man.
No, the end.
Yeah, it's just no. There's a couple of nutrition ones here. We will get clear on in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, we won't deep dive too much in these nutrition runs because that's a better one for Claire. But
here's the thing. Just don't eat like a dickhead. Carbohydrates are brilliant. They allow us to fuel our bodies to do great things. Proteins are brilliant. Fats are brilliant. But, everything's a poison. What matters is a dose. So I think as an overview, I'm not going to give you a heap of nutritional advice because it's not my job. The minutiae of it sickens me. But just eat the things you like to eat. Marry up what you're eating towards your goals and ensure that you do it consistently enough and you hold yourself accountable to what you say you're going to eat or what you're tracking. So hypothetically, you want to lose weight, track your intake. If you track your intake, you'll understand, okay, well, here's the breakdown between my macronutrients and here's how many calories I'm consuming. And, oh, wait, maybe I'm eating in a calorie deficit for 5 days in a week, but I'm in a significant surplus for 2 days a week because I'm eating shit because it's my cheat day or my weekend or whatever it is. So I think, eat like an adult. It's a great saying. It's just just eat like you're not a 10-year-old.
Satiating whole foods.
Yeah, we want to have foods we enjoy. So, whether it's carbohydrates, whether it's a burger, whether it's beers, just do the things you enjoy, but there's going to be a trade-off between the things you enjoy and what your long-term goals are. And I think if it's back to that first question, self-awareness, if you're clear on where you want to head and what you actually want to do, to make change, we need to make change. If you're clear on that and clear on what you need to do to get there, then it's just a battle between short-term and long-term satisfaction. And delaying that gratification effectively is what that self-discipline conversation we had before. It's, surrounding yourself with people that will help support your decisions. It's getting clear on what you need to do day in, day out, and then it's just showing up and doing it. So carbohydrates, brilliant, good for you. Keep consuming. If you're cutting carbs for any reason that isn't dictated by a dietitian or a healthcare practitioner, i.e. a specialist doctor, then stop that.
Yeah. Thanks for answering that one.
You're
Those
welcome.
ones.
Here we go, protein hacks, which I assume means how to get more protein.
Yeah, I like that one from a nutrition standpoint. I've probably got two answers for that one. Don't demonize animal flesh and protein.
Great use of flesh.
So nutrient dense, packed with protein. I love, as everyone here knows, I love salmon. Like so many good nutrients in that. Omega-3, good for skin, good fats, good source of protein. Second one, just a really good clean whey protein.
Yeah.
But that's my two.
Yeah, I'm not going to take it much further than that. I mean, we know protein is more satiating and it will fill you up and you'll feel like you don't need to eat as much. So if you are trying to lose weight, upping your protein in your diet is a brilliant way to do it. If you are training hard and need to recover, upping more protein is necessary. If you're playing sport and you need to recover from the impact and the game and the games you're playing, then protein is incredibly important. So yeah, those two things are probably my go-to as well. It's like making protein shakes are easy. You can chuck some whey in, chuck some chuck some nuts, flaxseed,
And
egg, milk, and you've got, there's your extra protein.
Yeah, and I was one that for the last few months, couple of years, sort of demonized protein shakes. I don't really know why. But if you get a good quality one, clean, minimal ingredients, that's the biggest protein hack you could probably get. That's 30 grams. That's a fair chunk of your daily needs.
Yeah, liquid protein is not a bad thing. And I think we might do a full episode on what we wish we did better and what we wish we knew then. And because there are a plethora of things. I've been in the industry for 10, 11 years. You've been in for, 5 or 6?
Yeah.
So, we've fucked up a lot of these things.
I've fallen down every rabbit hole, but I've always just come back to the basics.
Yeah, it's cliche for a reason. Yeah. You're doing the next one.
WAP is the best song for the last decade. That's not really a question. It
was a discussion. It was
a statement, an incorrect one at that too.
It is a shit song. It sucks. I don't get it.
Anyway, that'll do.
You're wrong. You're wrong. The best song in the last decade would probably be... Well, that's something I should have thought about. Yeah, I got nothing for you.
Oh.
Up there. How good the buttons? I love the buttons. Yeah, good. WAP sucks.
It's a statement, an incorrect statement. Unfortunately, due to the nature of my job, I got to listen to a lot of music every single day, and that's one that I unfortunately hear probably every day.
It comes on and it's like, what is happening?
Always on Mitchell Rose shit.
And this is the thing, you'll never...
Actually, I heard you play it this morning.
No, it's on the... So we have a Virtus Family Pump Up Tracks playlist, and it is on there. So there's also some strange choices. But here's the thing. Music is subjective. So, there is no optimal. It's all around what people like and what people like at a particular time. So, if you don't like a song, listen to it, pay attention to it. And if you say you don't like the music, this is for everyone who trains at Virtus. If you say you don't like the music and I say, all right, what would you like instead? Don't say, not this, because it's not helpful. All right? Anyway, that's a bit of a grind.
Rant.
Go. Next one.
Opinion on nootropics for exercise. I actually saw this question on the whiteboard the other day and was meant to do a bit of research on it because I don't know a great deal about it. Haven't done that research, so I'm so sorry. I think
you should be able to answer this stuff.
I think
off
Josh
the cuff.
Lorenz put that question down. Sorry, Josh, I can't answer. I was meant to research.
I reckon that's the jiu-jitsu in him. Jiu-jitsu athletes looking for shortcuts. Not that it's a shortcut, but nootropics are basically supplements or compounds that allow your brain to function more optimally.
Yeah, I knew they were good for brain health.
In a nutshell.
All I knew.
So things like ginseng and I don't know. I'll get a list up, but things like that are extras in things. Talk for a moment. Nootropics. There you go. Drugs, supplements, other substances that claim to improve cognitive function. So basically anything. Yeah. Omega-3s, caffeine, all of that would be part of it. So I guess my answer is in terms of it's a growing aspect of the supplement industry. And we know the supplement industry is one of the most profitable industries in the world. And the reason for that is because they market really well and they sell things that make a little bit of difference, and they try and convince you that it makes a big difference. So, same as the conversation we had before around the big rocks: sleep, nutrition, hydration, good quality training consistently. If you're nailing those, sure, try some nootropics. But at the end of the day, they're compounds that are marketed to us by supplement companies to, ideally help us maybe a little bit.
Yeah,
so
that's it. Yeah, what I'm gathering there, if you do have a bit of brain fog or your brain's not functioning or whatever, you've probably got to ask yourself why that is. Strip back, look at every area of your life, and then, weigh up if the supplement's a good idea for you. But, it's not going to improve you as much as nailing your sleep, hydration, nutrition will.
100%. All right, strength versus mobility. What is more effective for life?
We need a why not do both button.
Yeah. It's actually, put that on the list. Just quickly, we don't have to do a this versus that. Life doesn't work in a vacuum. So it's never is this exercise or that exercise better? Is this food or that food better? Like the answer is it depends.
Squat versus hip thrust studies.
If you're mobile, then you probably need to get stronger. If you're super strong, then you probably need to be more mobile. Yeah. So I guess at the end of the day, I ask myself the question is what's going to help me longer term? Not necessarily for footy now or for what I'm doing day in, day out. It's like what's going to give me the capacity to do things down the track? And the answer is both. Yeah. We want to be mobile and we want to have the capacity to produce, absorb, transfer force, through different ranges, right? So
you also want to be able to bend down and tie your shoes up.
Correct. So, for quality of life, the answer is both. Here's a bit of a fun fact for you. Two of the factors for early death are foot speed and lower body strength. So lower body strength, obviously, every time you sit down, it's a little bit harder to get back up. What are you going to do more? You're going to sit down, and you're not going to get down and get up all the time. And foot speed is every day. So, let's backtrack a little bit. So a lot of older humans, they become incapacitated or pass away after having a fall. So they'll trip over and break a hip or break a leg or something like that. And then, that decreases lower body strength and stops their movement. And then eventually they cease to move. So
that fear of movement.
Exactly. So the foot speed part of it, every day we trip. We're
actively falling.
Yeah, every time we walk. But if you pay attention, like you trip 2 or 3 times a day without realizing because you just catch yourself and you carry on with your life.
Yeah.
Whereas, if you're 60 or 70 and you're not very strong and you don't have the foot speed, that trip could be your last one, effectively. So one of the things that I'm mindful of is when programming for everyone when they're younger, but especially when they're older, is making sure that we can maintain foot speed and we can maintain strength. And then the follow-up or the next part of that is we want to be able to pick the kids up off the floor. We want to be able to tie our shoes. We want to be able to, if we fall down, get up off the ground. So, yeah, the answer is both from my perspective.
It was a big mistake I made like when I first got into the industry, like year 12 when I was programming for older clients. I would just include these really, really gentle exercises, no power, nothing too strenuous. And it's like, well, why wouldn't an elder want to move fast?
Yeah, 100%. And we've got to start, like the goalpost move in terms of where we start. But ultimately, we want everyone to be able to get down on the floor and get up with as much ease as possible. So, there's no perfect exercise for this kind of stuff for strength and mobility, but things like Turkish get-ups and crawls and carries and deadlifts and squats and things that they don't need to mimic everyday life, but they're things that challenge you in multiple positions and force you to get better in each of those positions.
Good movement variability.
Yeah, 100%. So strength, mass, mobility, it's both. More effective is, centered around, like, we want to ask ourselves with our training is, what's my end game and is this going to get me closer to it? And, the best thing we can do is have repeatability in our training and have variability in our training. So tick those boxes and you'll be sweet. Deep dive into recovery modalities, how, why, when, what, etc. We're not going to do a deep dive today, but in a 90-second answer, go.
Into all our tools that we've got?
Just recovery in a nutshell.
Well, again, like we've had the conversation 2 times already in the podcast, but again, your big rocks, your sleep, hydration, nutrition,
repeat something 6 times.
They are your recovery modalities. But recovery is 80% subjective, and I've just made that number up. But it's largely subjective and how you feel and how you think you feel. So if a dive into a freezing cold ocean after a game of footy when your legs are sore and that gets you feeling better, then keep doing that. If diving into an ice bath gets you feeling better, keep doing that.
If it makes you feel shit and gets you stressed and pumps you full of cortisol, then maybe that's not the best thing for you to be doing.
If you're dreading jumping into the ice bath, then
don't jump into the ice bath.
Don't jump into the ice
bath. There's elements around resilience and things like that. And then this is the duality of this life, right? There's not one it's not good or bad. Something like an ice bath, if you hate it, sucks for recovery because you're going to pump yourself full of the hormones that do not enhance recovery.
Because it is a stressor when you jump into a freezing cold bath.
For sure.
Your body goes into a heightened state of stress.
But if you want to train resilience,
Yeah.
There are a few better things than sitting under a cold shower for 4 minutes every morning.
Like, I love an ice bath to train resilience and my ability to regulate stress. But if you're already in a heightened state of stress due to a big game of footy, whatever, might not be the best option.
Yeah. The advice I give to the footy boys is basically just what makes you feel good, what makes you feel better, and what allows you to move better so that you can train properly on a Tuesday. So for some people, it's going for a run. For some people, it's going for a walk with a dog. For some, it's ice. For some, it's heat. It's spa, like warm shower, things like that. For some, it's a beer or two. Obviously, one or two pots. Nothing wrong with it really for a recovery perspective. You might have different feeling about it, but
I've had a beer after every game of footy this year.
Yeah, because
I'm fine.
It helps you relax, right? We talked about parasympathetic, sympathetic before. It helps shift you into that parasympathetic response. Obviously, our body's then got to metabolize the alcohol and do things like that. So maybe don't have 15.
Don't get pissed.
And stop drinking sugary UDLs and mixed drinks and stuff like that.
Good carbs though.
Yeah, maybe. But at the end of the day, recovery should make us feel better. So whether it's Normatex, whether it's an ice bath, whether it's a spa, things that make us feel better will help us perform better, and it'll help us build our capacity.
That's it. Yeah. Like half my science brain tries to opt for things that are going to deliver fresh blood to my muscles. So I love sauna and active movement. But again, half of that's also just what makes me feel good too. Like I like sauna.
Yeah.
So I half do it because I know it's going to deliver blood. Half do it because I like it.
Yeah, and the hidden benefit of the sauna is you sit in the fucking same place for 20 minutes, where most of us are go all day. So it helps shift that how you're recovering. Knees over toes.
Yeah, I really like that. Well, I know everyone knows knees over toes going ATG. I really like that they're promoting that your knees can go over your toes, and it's not a bad thing. I think some of their messaging could be a little bit different, but overall, your knees can and are meant to go over your toes.
Yeah.
Obviously, build tolerance if you've never done that before, or if it's been a while since you've done any movement. Maybe don't crank your knee over your toe as hard as you can with a 60-kilo barbell on your back. Yeah. But graded exposure is the way to go, really.
Progressive overload is the first thing we learn in a PT course. The first thing we learn at uni.
Yeah.
And I think if we understand that and we work within our current capacities, we obviously want to work on the edge, because if you're not living on the edge, you're taking up space. We want to work on the edge, and then we want to build from there and just build capacity and build capacity and build capacity. So, we build capacity in range, we build capacity in force output, we build capacity in repeatability. So, knees over toes are brilliant, and it's been fantastic that someone's effectively made their career over a thing that most of us have been doing for 10 years.
Yeah.
But play on.
Fair play to him. I think where the messaging goes wrong is you've got to be doing X exercise to reduce your risk of injury. If you do fucking Nordics, then you're going to reduce your risk of injury by this %. You've got to have all these, as if the body's a machine, you've got to have all these percentages of strength in certain areas, and that's going to help perfect your body.
Yeah, I think we should figure out what our sport or our activity requires of us, and figure out and find ways to measure it. It's important to measure these things. Find ways to measure those requirements, and then identify the gaps, and then work on the gaps, and that's it. So, yeah. Similar question: external rotation during squats and deads, good or bad?
I think someone saw my post the other day.
I think so.
I don't think it's bad. But
no movement's necessarily
I was going to say, I also don't think knees coming in is bad either. Just do what feels good for you. I mean, the knees are going to cave in a little bit as your foot pronates into the ground. And then pronation is literally the flattening of all your arches. That's coupled with hip internal rotation. So, Marty said to me the other day when she was squatting, she was like, shit, my squat feels so good when I sort of let my knees cave in. But, when I'm trying to jam them out, I've always been told, it just feels really yuck. I'm like, well, there's a fucking reason for that. Your knees are meant to sort of cave in a little bit as your foot flattens. Just let it happen. Don't fight it. And I think Claire said, Claire commented on my post. She said, I had really bad knee pain. I was trying to jam my knees out, and then I just let my knees be knees, and we're all good.
Good quality movement and good quality strength training is all about transference of force. It's your capacity to move force from the ground or from a part of your body. So, say you're doing a bench press, you can push through the ground, but you're working off the ground and through the bench into the bar to move the weight, right? Same thing if we're playing footy and we're fending someone off, or same thing if we're playing basketball and we're changing direction. All good quality movement is your capacity to absorb, transfer force, and then project it in some way, shape, or form. So there's no bad movement. There's an inability to control, and I think this might be one of the questions down the road. There's an inability to control the movement. So your focus in terms of a squat should be, can I control this movement body weight, right? And you talked about graded exposure. Then can I control this movement? Control this movement through, with a bar. Then can I add load? And if you can do that and progressively overload that way, that your neuromuscular system becomes more efficient and it becomes more effective, and you're never going to be able to what's the word I'm looking for? Completely stop injuries, but prevent injuries, injury prevention. Forgot that word. But we can increase our robustness to potentially decrease the likelihood of injuries.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I don't think the external rotation is neither good nor bad. What works for you?
100%. Creatine for younger athletes.
Awesome. Yeah. Similar to caffeine, creatine's like one of the most well-researched supplements of all time. I think it's awesome, like so highly researched with really, really minimal side effects found. So it's going to help you store more phosphate groups in the muscles, so pretty much greater force output. It's going to improve your ability to complete anaerobic activity, so think jump, sprint, change of direction, all that sort of stuff. So high intensity activity is going to increase your time to fatigue. It crosses the blood-brain barrier too, so there's some cognitive benefits probably.
It's a nootropic.
Yeah. There you go. Didn't know that.
Welcome to my world.
And really, really minimal side effects. Like if you've got a youth athlete, maybe 12 to 17 years old, and they have massive demands for their sport, sure, whatever. It's also found in like animal meats, like flesh. So if someone's not eating enough animal flesh, or they have certain beliefs around that, then it could be a really good supplement. I recommend getting a high quality one. Some of the lower quality ones aren't quite absorbed as well. So spend a little bit of extra money, get a high quality one that's actually going to be absorbed into the muscles. It also takes fluid into your muscles too. It actually makes you look more dense.
Thicker, which we love.
THICC.
Nah, CQ. Thick. Good. I don't need to add anything to that. Creatine's great. It's along with caffeine, it's probably the most widely tested and researched supplement in the world.
Yeah. So
all right. The next one is just a name. Harry Styles. Thoughts? Discuss.
Again, it's not a question. It's just a proper noun. It's not even a question there.
What are your thoughts on old mate Harry?
Better when he was in One Direction.
Fucking what? Actually?
The oath.
You actually think he was better in One Direction?
Yep, absolutely.
Got
a few good tunes.
Oh, mate.
Watermelon Sugar.
Yeah, I'm all about this. This is my favourite Harry Styles song. I don't know if we'll get kicked off for having a Harry Styles song on, but anyway, this song is so good. I know it's an older one, but I think Harry Styles is phenomenal. I think he's great.
Right, I can't argue. I'm just more privy to One Direction than Harry Styles, but
I love that. What a question. Good from Charlotte. All right. Importance of hydration. This has been your crux of your life a little bit lately.
Might just link the reel that I made.
Yeah, you made a very good reel, but let's talk about it in the usable.
Yeah. To be very blunt and matter of fact, your body needs it for every single chemical reaction that it has.
Every cell, everything we do.
Every cell needs it. If you're not getting enough of it, you will die. Yeah.
And I think you're right. If we're not getting enough of it, we'll die. That's one end of the spectrum. But if we're having a suboptimal amount of water, if we're dehydrated a lot of the time, like your body will work.
Yeah.
It like our body and our system has a incredible capacity to just get things done.
And body is very robust.
To get things done. But if we're looking for optimal, and optimal is a word that we're never really going to get optimal, but it's a nice place to aim at and throw at sometimes. But optimal cognitive function, optimal physiological, psychological function, if we want to be able to do things and do them well, hydration's like the number one most simple thing we can do, I think, as a usable one. Lots of people go, I just always forget. But just fucking have a glass of water with you.
Like if people want to start going to the gym or moving more, sometimes we need to start implementing some habit and behaviour change strategies, because it's sometimes not all that easy. But I don't know, I just feel like with drinking water, just drink more water. It's free.
But
get it out of the tap.
And so Greg obviously does a lot of work, a lot of manual therapy and a lot of work in terms of movement. And I've lost track of the amount of times where I've said, because we kind of have a chat after most of his appointments. How'd you go? What'd you do? What was the problem? And a lot of the times, because a lot of the issues that people are having might be with hips or with areas that aren't feeling good, or they got back pain or something like that. And we have a whole bunch of organs that are squished together in our trunk, right? And we have heaps of connective tissue, lots of blood tissue or blood vessels, and for the majority of people, it's all jammed up and it doesn't move very well, right? We grab a foam roller to roll our quads if they're a bit tight. We grab a lacrosse ball to roll through T-spine, but we never really do anything around there. And most of the time, once Greg's done some work and changed the way the tissue's behaving, his advice is just drink more water. Yeah. It's just, hey, how much water do you drink today? Oh, half a glass or none. It's simple, it's easy. It's one of those things that's not sexy because it's just drink more water, right? But if you can drink more water and if you can hit your 2.5 to 3 liters a day, then you're going to move, you're going to feel, and you're going to have the capacity to do more. And if that's what we're here for.
Like, that's just the secondary benefits as well. Like, you're going to sleep better. Digestion's going to be better. Like, your skin, you'll actually be like the amount of people I've said to drink more water, and the next few days I see them, they're like just glowing. They just look healthier.
Yeah, it's easy. It's low hanging fruit. I'm sick of talking about it, but and
someone put that in to piss me off.
you seem a little anxious. Drink more water. It's one of those things, and I think this is like my evolution as a coach as well. I spent a lot of my early years learning about this stuff and preaching it and pushing it. Like, get your steps up, go for a walk, do your meditation. Right, do your journaling, learn how to squat, do your mobility work, drink your water, all the basic shit. And you kind of feel like you go past it, and then you turn around and you look back and you're like, everyone's still not drinking enough water. Yeah. They're not walking enough each day and things like that.
Like, you almost think it's too basic, but
and I know if I think it's too basic, then most people who are not in the industry or don't see the benefits of it on a large scale. Like, we get to see a couple hundred people improve when they do X, Y, Z. So yeah, it's not just us preaching drink more water because we're water shills and we're paid by the water companies. Just fucking drink water. It's not that hard. All right, that's it. That's all I got. Why does poor movement often lead to injury? Go.
Define poor movement is my answer.
And here we go. An inability to absorb or transfer force.
Yeah, well, I don't necessarily think there is such a thing as a bad movement or a poor movement. Maybe your capacity for doing that movement is just incredibly low. I think that's another one that someone put up because they might have seen one of my posts. I would argue it doesn't lead to injury, but maybe a poor capacity for doing X movement will lead to injury. It's all about tissue tolerance for mine. If your tissues aren't tolerable to a certain range or a movement and you load the shit out of it, or you have a sudden spike in your volume, you probably
or intensity. Like, it can be hey, I haven't sprinted for 6 years, and then you go flat chat it.
That's what happened to me in my Achilles earlier in the year.
Yeah, and load management's incredibly important. It's almost one of the most important parts of our job. It's teaching our members and teaching our athletes how to understand what their body's telling them. So, you're right in the fact that there might not be any poor movement, but there's poorly executed movement. Yeah. And I guess the gap that we need to fill is we need to teach people what their bandwidth is and what they're currently capable of. So the analogy I like to use is everyone drives a car, or most of you guys will be driving cars. When you drive your car, you have room either side of your car either side of the lane, right? So I call that the bandwidth. So you have bandwidth to move your car and to shift to the right-hand side of the lane, and nothing bad's going to happen, or shift to the left. Once we veer over the other side of incoming traffic, or we hit the gravel on the other side, shit's going to go wrong, right? Something's going to happen. And movement is exactly the same. When we squat, when we deadlift, when we press, when we pull, we are within a performance bandwidth. There's no perfect way to do a movement. There are acceptable ways there are acceptable ways and unacceptable ways in terms of your risk of hurting yourself or getting injured. So I think I would say there is poor movement. There's movement that is more likely to cause you maybe injury or maybe just discomfort. And if you do that enough, you're teaching yourself poor patterns, which then, we spoke before about training is just tension and ability to absorb and produce and move and shift and do it safely. When we get someone who's done a bunch of hamstrings and, one of the reasons why is because their hips are super jammed up and they can't get into certain positions, and then we have an issue. So
there are probably poor movements for certain people at their snapshot in time.
And for their particular sport or particular activity they're trying to do. So, if you can't touch your toes, then you're probably not going to be able to deadlift very well.
Yeah. And it was only yesterday we had B out in the gym floor. She was trying to do an incline barbell push-up and wasn't getting the barbell to her chest, and she was wondering why. And I said, all right, stand up for me. Had her make that shape with her arms and see if she can get her fists behind her back, which she couldn't. So I'm like, well, there's no way I'm going to have you do that barbell push-up going full range of motion bar to chest when you can't even actively get your fists to your rib cage.
Yeah, we need to understand what we're looking at. If it can be a strength issue or a capacity issue, or it can be a mobility issue. And if we don't have the mobility to get to a position, then we try and load that position. Some movements we're going to be okay. That load's going to help us push that range, but we're probably not going to be able to control that movement very well. And again, it doesn't really matter as long as we're having fun. Strength or cardio first?
This is another classic. In most instances, strength first. I was talking to the young footy boys that were in the other night. If you want to build your strength, which is simply your ability to produce force, the maximal amount of force that your muscles can produce, then you're going to want to train to mimic that. So you're going to want to train and lift heavy shit. Your reps are going to be really, really low because you can't lift heavy shit 12 to 15 times. If you can, then you're not lifting heavy enough. So if you're trying to produce as much force as possible, then I'd probably do cardio after, because if you're doing cardio beforehand, you're going to be fatigued. Your ability to produce force is going to be inhibited. If your goal's cardio, do cardio first.
Exactly what I was going to say. It's just understanding, one, what your intention is, what you're actually trying to achieve, and then secondary is understanding how the body works. We're going to be able to produce. We're going to. Yeah, we're not there. Struggling here. We are going to have a diminished potential for intensity if we are under fatigue. Yeah. So if we want to jump far, run fast, lift heavy, then we add fatigue, we're going to get worse. Yeah. So I use the example of when we're playing footy at VFL, we're footballers, right? So what do we do first? Do we train or do we lift in the gym? We train. Yeah. So we get the technical, tactical stuff out of the way first. We do some running at the end of training, and then we go in and we'd eat, and then we'd go and do a gym session. And I was at uni at the time and sitting there going, but this is backwards. This is not what we should be doing. But we're footballers, right?
And that's another, don't let perfect be the enemy of good sort of thing. If for whatever reason you have to get your running done first, for whatever reason, then do it. Make sure you're well fueled, well rested in between your running bout and your strength bout. It might not be optimal, but just make it work for you.
Perfect.
Fuck optimal.
Cereal or milk first? This is a fucking dumb question. Cereal, obviously. Then you know how much milk to put in.
If you go on milk first,
there is something wrong.
Delete the podcast.
It's I don't know.
That's another one someone's just put in to annoy us.
It's working. All right, mindfulness and mental health, positive effects of physical activity on those two things.
Do you want to kick us off with that one?
Yeah, just a sidebar. This is a massive topic. We could talk about this for a 10-episode series.
That is a podcast.
Coop and I did do a mindfulness and mental health podcast during COVID. So I think season 2, episode 8 or something along those lines. So if you want to deep dive, jump into that. I think that will cover most things, but I think as summary and for mindfulness and mental health, we feel better when we move, and we feel better when we can get out of our heads sometimes, get into our body. Movement, whether it be running, walking, swimming, lifting in the gym, it's effectively a form of meditation. So what it allows us to do, it allows us to take our current capacity and just remove a layer of stress. Most of us are fairly, at the moment, I would say that because of the way the world's been the last couple of years, a lot of unknowns and things like that, a lot of us feel fairly snowed under in terms of capacity and what we're dealing with. It seems a lot more like micro stresses at the moment than there usually are. And they're micro stresses that in isolation aren't big things. They're, it might be a little bit lack of sleep. It might be work's a little bit more hectic than normal. It might be, the weather's a bit shit or whatever it is. We could sit here and list 100 of them. What you want to do and utilize your movement and things like that for is each time you do something, it might be walking for 20 minutes, it might be lifting in a gym session, you almost like cancel out a couple of those micro stresses. So if you've got 20 things, pulling you one direction, you can go, well, I'm going to meditate today, I'm going to drink some water, I'm going to go for a walk, and I'm going to do my gym session. You're actively pulling the other way, and it kind of brings you back more to what I would consider like normal and a more relaxed mindset. We don't want to, we hear the saying in here, like, I just need a holiday a lot. We've effectively, in a nutshell, we've had 2 years of holidays of on and off and on and off, and it's made everyone worse. So I think your goal shouldn't be to have a holiday and to have to take 2 weeks off everything and just full stop and remove all the micro stress for 2 weeks, because then when you come back, micro stress is still there.
Micro stresses are magnified.
Yeah, exactly. So I think first foremost, what's one thing that'll make you feel better? And for most of us, it's going for a walk. Yeah. Try and fit 3 of those things into your day. Tomorrow, try and fit another 5 things. Next day, 10 things. And then you'll find, all right, which of these things make the most difference? Which ones are going to move the needle for me the most? And I don't do it anymore, but for me, for a long time, it was journaling. Just having a piece of paper, an empty page in front of me, I would force myself just to write whatever's in my head. And I never felt worse afterwards, because there was always all the stuff that was in there got out of there, and I could fold it up and I can move it away. For some people it's training, for some people it's running, for some people it's listening to music or reading a book, but find the things that help
whatever modality you choose, make sure you give it a crack for a good extended period of time. Don't just do it once and think, shit, that's not working, and never try it again. And it is a matter of personal preference too. Like for me, meditating and journaling are 2 that I've tried extensively for long periods of time, and it just didn't do it for me at all.
Just because you're a bad person.
It almost became like a chore. I'm a bad person too, but it became a chore. Like I'd be all tucked in bed, ready to go to sleep, and I'm like, fuck, I haven't done my journaling, I have to get back up. So like, you don't want to become a slave to your habits, but you also want to pick things that are going to help you and point that needle in the right direction.
Yeah.
And the only way to figure that out is to do them extensively and actually give it a crack.
Yeah, I stopped journaling after 1,500 days or something every day. I stopped doing it because I didn't feel it was serving me anymore. I didn't feel like it was making a difference to how I was feeling and what I was doing. And, I've got diminished capacity at the moment because of the girls, and which is, something that I'm trying to fit other things and squeeze other things into. But I think the question to ask is, it's a big question, but it's like, who do I want to be? And, what things would this person do? Start doing those things. So, if you want to be the kind of person that's a little bit more relaxed and a little, that's more capable of dealing with mental health through mindfulness, then, you're probably someone that trains pretty regularly, probably someone that gets out for a walk, probably someone that's, touches base with friends fairly often. So, so there's, we could definitely deep dive on that. But there's a podcast episode already done. But I think figure out what works for you and then lean into that.
I got one more question for you on that, because I have some people in here, we talk about training is me time, but then some people respond with, well, training's not my me time. Like, that's something I feel like I have to do.
Yeah.
Like, what response to that?
Some people love training, some people hate training. Most of us are somewhere in the middle. I'm someone that loved training 10 years ago, but now it's like I have to train. I think as long as you're clear on the reasons why you're training and you're clear on the outcomes you're trying to have. Some people just train for the sake of training. Like, we got people in here that will train because it's something they need to do to stay on an even keel. Like, they need to come in and move, and if they don't do it, they feel like they haven't got any time for themselves. Like, for a lot of parents, it'll be me time.
Yeah.
Because they get an hour where they're not, they're not pushed and prodded and pulled in 15 different ways. For younger athletes, sometimes it's the thing you have to do. But at the end of the day, we want to try and find love for training, and it doesn't have to be the training part. It might be improving on a lift, or it might be connecting with the people in the gym, or it might just be playing with the dog that's running around the gym. Yeah. Thanks, girl. She's still here. But it's finding the thing that you enjoy, because we know that training outside, having good sleep and drinking water and nutrition, we know that training is pretty much the best, and strength training and some cardiovascular training is effectively the best thing you can do for long-term quality of life and long-term health, full stop. And we need to find ways to build that into our life. It might be, playing football, or it might be swimming 3 times a week, or it might be, playing tennis. It doesn't necessarily matter, but if we're like, the gym's a brilliant environment where we don't have a lot of those outside influences, so that we can just work on the thing we're trying to work on. Like tennis, you get a bunch, 15 other benefits in terms of change of direction and speed and lower body strength, things like that, but it misses a bunch. So, figure out, and this is a self-awareness thing, back to the start of the episode, figure out whether you love it or not. And if you don't, then find the things that you enjoy about it. Start to find love in the process, and then, do it because you want to, not because you have to. And if you don't love the gym, don't go to the gym. Go find something else movement-wise that'll help improve the things you want to improve that's external to that.
That's it, yeah. There are thousands of different things too. Like being coaches, we are pretty married to this modality. But, yeah, there are 1,000 different things you can do.
Yeah. If you don't like this kind of training, go to CrossFit. If you don't like CrossFit, go to F45. If you don't like F45, go to a 24-hour gym. Like, try things, and then you'll figure it out.
We love to shit on HIIT training, but...
A lot of people love it.
If it's not making you worse and you love it and you can rock up to it, do it.
Yeah, and it's, I like asking the question, would I be able to do this in 20 years' time and keep improving? All right, so how does sleep impact performance?
Positively. That's where you're recovering. That's where your body is healing itself. Like, your body is your natural healer. That's where it gets the chance to do its healing. 7 to 9 hours a night. Like, I got pretty sick like yesterday and the day before, like really run down. I think it was just heightened stress with a lot of different things going on.
So much.
Yeah. So I just drank a lot of water, penciled in some naps, slept a shitload last night, and today I'm like a new man. I remember I said to you last night, like,
we might not be doing this.
Good for the podcast.
Yeah.
But
we nailed it.
It's just sleep. It's so simple.
Yeah, it's simple, but it's not easy. So I think it impacts, I don't need to give you any more than that, but it allows us to work at 100%. It's, not sleeping is like not charging your phone to 100%. It's like, sure, your phone will still work. When it gets that little red
quicker.
When you get that little red line, you it doesn't perform optimally. And we're the same. Like, we're no different. So we need to figure out the things that allow us to recharge, and then allow us to get a good sleep. There are many. Maybe we'll do a full podcast on sleep. But there are different types of sleep, and each phase of sleep gives us something different. So
get Matthew Walker on the podcast.
Yeah, it does different things for us. So if you're only getting your 5 hours, you're not getting the full benefit of those. Yeah. And this comes from someone that's getting 5 or 6 hours at the moment.
Yeah,
but
the gym, and when you're getting a sweat on and when your muscles are burning, like, that's when you're breaking down. Your sleep's when you build back up again and get stronger and more robust. Really good benefits for your memory too, if you're studying. So.
Exactly. So, all right, last one, and we are just a touch under the hour, which is what we're aiming for. So, really good time management by us. What's your favourite quote?
I already said be the change you wish to see in the world. There was one by Seneca. Couldn't be my favourite quote because I'm struggling to remember it.
Wow.
Hey, you go and I'll look it up.
Is it comparison is the thief of joy? That's one of my favourite Seneca quotes. My favourite quote is Seneca's mate, not really, but Marcus Aurelius. It's I've forgotten it.
Come on.
It is.
We're having a mare here.
I'm probably having a nightmare. It's basically control the controllables. It's oh man, I have blanked. You've rocked me here.
Mine by Seneca. We suffer more in imagination than in reality.
Oh,
so
yeah,
things
good.
are always worse in your head than they actually are. Like a lot of your heightened state of stress isn't due to things that are actually going on. It's due to the stories that you're telling yourself in your head.
So funny. Started the podcast. I looked at this question and went, oh yeah. Bang.
So simple.
You have power over your mind, not outside your events. Realize this and you'll find strength. I think, they're two pretty quotes that probably saying the same thing in different ways. Majority of life is outside of our control. Figure out the list of things that are in your control and just focus on them. We can get overwhelmed and there can be a lot going on, pretty much all of the time if we let it. But what you pay attention to is completely up to you. So one of the tasks I like to prescribe to people who do feel overwhelmed and do feel like there's too much going on is get yourself a piece of paper, line down the middle. On one side, write the things that are within your control. On the other side, write the things that are outside of my control. There's effectively like 6 or 7 things that are within your control. It's what you do, what you consume, what you put in your body. It's who you spend time with, and it's how you spend your time. And in a nutshell, that's effectively it. On the other side is pretty much everything else. There are thousands and thousands of things. The weather, whether we're in COVID or not, how you're feeling today, how other people approach you. There's a million things. So once we've got those two lists, fold it up, stick it on the fridge, pay attention to the stuff that you can control, and life will get infinitely better.
Yeah. Really similar to mine, Jules. Jules, really similar parallels.
Good. I think that's it. Thanks for hanging out for...
We better answer Emily Webster's question.
Oh, yeah. I thought I wrote it down.
Should be really disappointed.
Yeah, go.
She asked me about 6 times last night and again today, if we were dogs, what breed would we be? KP called me a poodle earlier.
Fucking look at the perm.
So I might run.
Where'd you get your perm from, by the way?
Grindstone Barber in Mornington.
Get around him. Shout out.
It's very hard to get into James Sharp and MV.
Our third favourite barber in Mornington. A poodle. What would you have said if KP didn't suggest that?
Something loyal, can do good tricks, like a Dalmatian or something.
Do good tricks.
Dalmatian, a Vissla.
You'd be a good Vissla. Got a bit of Vissla about you.
Yeah.
I reckon I'd just be a border collie. Like, a little bit annoying, but adorable.
You are your dog.
Yeah.
You are Banksy.
You definitely... You see other people that look like their dogs, and I used to laugh at it, and now I hang out with Banksy, and people kind of say, like, you guys are the same.
And same with Greg and Angus and Mitch and Bailey in Boston. Like, everyone is their dogs.
It's pretty funny. I love it. That's it. Any more for any more?
Phenomenal. Nah, I'm out.
Beautiful. That's episode 1.
Hey, what's happening in episode 2?
I haven't decided yet. I think you and Mitch, right?
That's right, actually. I forgot that. Hey, next week, me and Mitchell are coming on. Hey, don't know what we're going to talk about yet. If you have any suggestions, let us know. We might break down some training systems such as ATG and knees over toes and whatnot. Who knows?
Can't bloody wait. See you, team. It's been amazing.